G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza, and this video is a bit of a different one. It's one of those talking ones. I get a lot of emails from people who say lots of different things, but one of the things that I've noticed that I get quite a bit of is people asking for advice on something in particular. This piece of advice that they're looking for, that I'm apparently being very mysterious about, is in regards to not feeling good enough as an artist. And I just wanted to make a quick video sort of to talk about that, because it's so common and yet it's like, it's such an untouchable, intangible idea. Some artists don't have this as a problem, and some artists do. In fact, most artists do, and some really struggle with it. It's the idea that no matter what you're doing, you feel like you're not moving, you're not progressing, and every time you look at another artist's artwork, particularly if it's a style you admire or aspire to, rather than lifting you up and inspiring you to create and move, it actually pushes you down and it actually really kind of crushes you into feeling incapable and kind of lost. So the reality is, I don't have a magical answer to this, because the fact is I face this sort of thing too. Most artists do, but there are just a few kind of ways of thinking about it that I'm going to talk about from my own personal experience. Again, not a magical solution, but definitely worth a conversation. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about it in the comments, whether it be from your own experience or from someone you know. Now, this conversation is going to be centered around artists and creative people, but it's also interesting because it applies everywhere. You could be a tradesperson, you could be a baker or a stay-at-home mum or whatever, and the same lessons kind of apply, if that makes sense. Where not being good enough or doing the wrong thing is just a crushing feeling. Now, it seems to me this sort of thing really kind of is onset on during like early adolescence or later, because I get the feeling that most people, when they're kind of in the younger stage of their life, are fearlessly creative. And creativity, almost in its definition, is the willingness to make mistakes in creating something. And if you're an artist and you can think back to your earliest days of being passionate about art, just really try and stop and think back to how much of an adventure it was. Like, I remember when I first really discovered art, like my passion for drawing and comics and projects, and I was always starting something new, fearless of it. I was writing comics for newspapers and going to send them in regardless of what people around me were saying, that, you know, you're 12 years old, they might not want you to write comics for the newspapers. I didn't care, I was writing comics for the newspapers. We had a class animation project where we used PowerPoint to create a stick figure animation, and I spent every day for months creating that Mortal Kombat stick figure animation that I actually don't think I even submitted on time, because my creativity was just unleashed, and doing things right or wrong, submitting by a deadline or adhering to a status quo didn't matter in any way, shape or form. Because what I was doing was making something, and that was fulfilling. Now, the problem with being a teenager or an adult in a world where people compare you to people, and then you learn to compare yourself to people and feel bad about it, is that feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment that you get from being creative tends to get a bit stifled and even eventually completely disappear because you're not doing it in the right way, or it's not good enough. That's kind of heartbreaking when you think about it. It's like the epitome of innocence lost. So while no one has a magic answer as to how to get over that feeling, because we've all felt it at times, there are a few things that you can do to kind of help retrain and reopen your mind to being willing to be fearlessly creative again. One of the things that helps me is to make time to be inspired. Most creative people know the things that in the past have really just made their eyes go wide and their hearts fill with creativity. For me, frankly, it's everything on the wall behind me. And if you're interested in how some of these things have influenced my creativity, I'll link to a video where you can kind of check it out, where I've sort of talked about it. But essentially, in my childhood, every time I watched Treasure Planet, every time I painted Warhammer figurines or played Pokemon card games, every time I watched animations on Newgrounds or read comic books, these were all things that didn't make me judge myself as an artist, but made me admire other people and made me want to do what they do. Now, if you're making time to be inspired, make sure you're letting yourself be inspired. Don't immediately stop your thought process at thinking, oh, I could never do this. Just think, this is so cool, and then use that feeling and try and convey that feeling on a piece of paper or whatever your medium is. It doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't even have to be as good or similar. If you open your mind and really lower your demands on yourself and let yourself be creative with that inspiration, it might be the opening of a gateway to enjoy yourself. And really, that's why artists kind of do what we do, because we want to enjoy our art and we want others to enjoy our art, and we can't get too worried about others enjoying our art, because then we don't enjoy our art. So you just kind of got to find that balance. The other thing is you need to really have a sense of perspective, because where you are right now is not where you will be. I can guarantee you the artists or creative people that you look at that you admire so much feel the same as you do. They have people they look at and want to be like. We just kind of can't comprehend that because we feel like in such a different place to them, at such a different standard to their work. I've had people tell me that that's how they feel about my work, and I feel like that about so many people's work. The Challenge of the Month competitions are a perfect example, because the fact is these people who are submitting their artwork to this challenge and competition are so talented and creative, and heaps of them are way better than me. And rather than getting down on that, I get inspired by that. I just think it's amazing, and I feel honored that you guys are just so sharing of your gifts. I remember when I was about 13 years old, there was another kid my age, I actually think it was a year or so older, and he used to create drawings as well, and he used to color them amazingly. And his dad was an animator who used to work for Disney, so obviously he had kind of an edge in some ways. And I just remember wanting to be like him so bad, and always wanting to see his artwork, and he kind of wasn't that bothered about showing me that much. And one experience in particular sticks out in my mind where I was showing my artwork to someone, and then he was showing his artwork to that same person, who then said loudly, "Wow, you're so much better than Joss." And I remember thinking, ooh, that's a little harsh. I mean, I'm trying. But it's interesting because I was quite a bit younger and I didn't have much pressure on myself, and I actually didn't take that to heart and let it get me down, because I loved drawing and I just kept drawing. And I just find it interesting that a long way down the line, a little over a decade later, I'm lucky enough to be actually drawing pictures and animating cartoons for a living. And last I checked, that guy became a tradie of some sort. And look, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's sort of interesting to have that perspective that it's really not necessarily about how much talent you have right now, when really it's about how much passion you can fill yourself with over a period of time, and create and create and create fearlessly, and learn from your mistakes and make more mistakes until eventually you'll be in a place that you never thought you'd be. Anyway, to be honest, I didn't really have a lesson planned with this video. I didn't have any specific outcome or things I needed to say, but I just think it's worth a conversation, and I just wanted to put this out there and see what you guys had to say about it. If you want to watch any sort of more structured videos similar to this and based around this theme of motivation and inspiration and creative block and all that, I have a whole bunch of videos I've made that you might find more interesting and a little more structured, so I'll link to those in the description and maybe on the screen. But that's it for now, and I guess if I was just to finish off with anything, it would be what I say to those people who ask me that question about how do I get past that. My summary essentially is do it for you. Slow down, block out the negative voices, and look at a piece of paper as potential and fun. And let yourself believe and know that there is no such thing as a mistake on that piece of paper, that you can use a million pieces of paper. And in a lot of those outcomes, especially, the more you do it, you're going to start to be pretty happy with what you can make. Thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel to see new content every week. Check out more of my stuff by clicking the annotations over there. If you want to support my work and get a few goodies for yourself, head over to my store for archives, ebooks, and get yourself something nice. If you're looking for a great place to collaborate, explore, or share your own content, head over to newgrounds.com. That's it for now, and until next time, see you later.